Okay, now we're going to go through some myth busters, some myths to bust, sorry. Okay, the first one is, I must ask my child as many questions, especially what questions, as this will make them speak. This is something that I see quite common when parents come to me. They are constantly questioning their children. There's no engagement, there's no back and forth interaction, there's no play. They try to use every opportunity as a teaching opportunity. And that's where I want all of you, if you take anything from this, is to just enjoy the time that you have with your child and make every situation motivating and fun for them. So that's a myth, and the fact is, commenting more engages a child and supports their language development. So we've gone over that, okay? Okay, so just a little recap on commenting. So remember, you're going to do the OWL method. Comment in a natural tone of voice. So don't be enthusiastic, but don't be fake. Be genuine in your play. Genuinely enjoy what you're doing. It'll come with practice. It's something that's very unnatural for adults to do. But if you just give yourself some time and every day start practicing with a child, just playing with them, talking about what it is, you getting involved with the toys, be a child again, basically. And so it'll really help you. It's not natural for us, but with practice it comes. Don't overload with questions. Be relevant. I see parents who try to get their children to display how much knowledge they have. So the child will be playing in my sessions with, I don't know, the slinky or the mesh ball, and the parents will grab them and say, come on now, say your 1, 2, 3, tell ma'am a poem, you know. Stop doing that, because you're not relevant, and the child is wondering, why do I have to tell ma'am a poem? What is the connection? Whereas if the child is playing with the slinky, and I see a parent, you know, saying, oh wow, you're playing with the slinky, look, you're stretching it, that shows me the parent really knows how to engage with their child, and it's really, really important. It helps in their sitting tolerance, it helps in them understanding their environment, and once that happens, you can move ahead really fast in speech therapy. I'm just giving you the very basics of speech therapy. It's like literally skimming the surface of it in this presentation. Each child is different, and each child has a level that we can work at. So yeah, be relevant, repeat and sign keywords, nouns and verbs. Don't always, if you're working on manding, so if you're working on a child asking, and most children are stuck at that level because all they ever know is I want, and you've not given them any other vocabulary, which is where your communication boards would come in, because you can give them, like, don't like, you had fun, did you want to do some more? Like, there's so much so much more information that you can give to your children, rather than them just constantly asking you for things. And don't forget your verbs and your adjectives as well. So remember, if your child is using nouns, how can you add one more word to it? How can you add a descriptor? How can you add a verb to it to increase their sentence structures? Use sentences appropriate to child's level. Yeah, just check your language. Check that your language is not too complex, not too long, your sentences. Another thing is to, when you're trying to get your child's attention, avoid trying to say their name repeatedly over and over again. So what you would do is if you're trying to get their attention, always position yourself in the right way. So make sure that you are at their eye level, so get down to their level, look at them. If they find it hard to look at you, never ever force eye contact. It's okay, but just a light touch on their shoulder, getting down to their eye level, that will get their attention. After you've got that attention, then you start with your instruction. So you can say their name, get down to their eye level, give them a little touch on their arm, and then start with your instruction. Because a lot of the times parents are giving instructions when the child's back is turned to them and they're playing off in a corner, and the parents are getting more and more frustrated. Why are they not coming to me? You just have to make a little bit more effort to go and get down to their level. The second mythbuster is, I must speak to my child as much as possible to develop their language. So we think that if a child is not talking, if I talk to them as much as possible, then they're going to develop their language. But that's not true. You don't have to keep talking to your child. For example, if you observed in my sessions, the videos, did I use much language? Was I constantly talking? I was just using the very simple basic keywords. I was listening to what the child wanted. I gave them time. Always give your child time to process, time to respond, and that makes them feel like they are worth the play session. They're worth your time. So speaking to your child constantly does not help. But when your child is engaged in a back and forth, it doesn't have to be a conversation, it can be a non-verbal interaction, that is much more helpful rather than an adult monologuing. So if your child is playing and you're washing the dishes in the kitchen and you're constantly, you're just, monologuing, I'm washing the dishes, what are you doing? That's not going to help them engage or develop any language skills at all. Whereas if you sit down with them, that concentrated time that you spend with them is much more useful than just constantly talking to them randomly. And sometimes, even quiet times are good for you and your child. Just being silent with them. You don't have to keep bombarding with language. Okay, if I sign with my child, it will delay the onset of verbalization. Signing facilitates rather than hinders development of vocal language. So there was a study that was conducted on 275 families, I think it was somewhere in Europe, and the babies that, the mums that signed with their babies, as compared to the mums that just use verbal stimulus, they had way better language scores, receptive and expressive language scores. So don't think that visuals or signing is going to hinder your child from expressing verbally. Because if you noticed from the videos that I showed you, I'm using as much visual as I can, as many pictures as I can, but the children are still, they're not just pointing, they're pointing and saying the word. So like the little boy said top, then he said spin top. So he's using the visual to support his expressive language. Think of it as a support to their verbal communication. Okay, the bilingualism causes language delay. I get asked this a lot because obviously we live in a very multilingual society, and parents have one language at home, there's one language at school, and it gets confusing. So the other myth is if you want your child to speak the majority language, you should stop speaking your home language, and my child already has a language delay. Speaking two languages will further confuse them. So these are all myths. So next time you hear any doctor or therapist saying, stop speaking Telugu or Hindi or Tamil at home, don't listen to that, because your child should be proficient in their home language, because if you think about it, you are most comfortable in that language. Okay, you're most comfortable in your mother tongue. And when your child grows up, they're going to feel extremely isolated if they're not able to converse with not just you, but other family members, like their grandparents or their uncles and their aunts. Besides that, the studies have shown, there was a study on an autistic Korean boy, and his first language is obviously Korean. It showed that when the home language was supported and therapy was done in their home language, or the parents spoke Korean at home, his development of English actually was supported greatly. He was able to pick up English pretty fast, and it also helped him pick up more vocabulary in Korean. So if your child is speaking to you in Telugu at home or replying in Telugu, don't stop that, don't force them to speak the language in school, which is usually English. Continue in your mother tongue. That's another myth.